The Igbo nation stands at a defining moment in its history, a time that demands reflection, strategic planning, and actionable solutions to the challenges facing Igbo. From security concerns and economic stagnation to regional integration and the push for self-sustaining development. These issues require the collective engagement of intellectuals, policymakers, business leaders, and citizens alike. In this light, Njenje Media is proud to present the State of the Igbo Nation Town Hall Series, a platform designed to facilitate deep conversation, solution-driven conversations with thought leaders who have demonstrated exceptional expertise and commitment to the advancement of our neighbor. This edition will feature a one-on-one conversation with Professor Okey Ikechukwu, MNI, a distinguished philosopher, public communications professional, and executive director of Development Spec Academy, Abuja. Prof, you're welcome to this platform.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
Through this discourse, we will explore the urgent need for a comprehensive economic blueprint for the Southeast, the role of the Southeast Economic Commission, the strategies for security and regional integration. We aim to dissect the systematic issue impending growth and profile pragmatic solutions that align with global best practices. I am Mazi Ezoke. I'm going to be your host this evening. And this dialogue, like I said earlier, will serve as a catalyst for robust engagement, practical policy recommendation, and renewed commitment for the economic and political revitalization of our neighbor. Prof, dịka anyị si ekwu ya n'Igbo, a sị na ugo ebeluna na mgbagbu, ụka akpara akpa isi ka eji ekwu ya. Ka m jukene gị, ịma na ihe anyị ga na-eme bụ na ọkwa nọ anyị sụrụta Igbo, anyị asụrụkwa oyibo, maka na o nwere ụmụnna anyị ndị kachasị ndị nọ na mba ofesi, ndị ihe anyị na-akpa na-amatụ, mana ọ bụghị ọtụtụ n'ime ha ga-abụ ọ bụ na anyị were sọsọ naanị Igbo kwube ya bụ okwu. Ụfọdụ ga-asị, I would have loved to, but sadly, mana anyị achọghị ime onye ọbụla obi ọjọọ. Therefore, anyị tụnyekwa nke a, anyị atụnye nke ọzọ, maka na ọ bụrụ ka esi ekwu ya n'Igbo, anyị ga-asị na anyị bụkwanụ ndị Isọbịa, bụrụkwa ndị ụmụọna. Ka m bido na nke izizi. Prof, given the increasingly security challenges in the Southeast, including kidnapping and violent crimes, what immediate and long-term strategies should be pursued to restore stability in our neighbor?
The fourth point to note in terms of security is that if a stranger enters your village, you know. Therefore, the whole issue of security must be taken back to three questions. Number one, our various communities acting consciously to identify and draw attention to the influx of strangers. Number two, in the places where currently the government has found out that there were hideouts, or if you like, strongholds of criminals and kidnappers, is it true that most of those communities actually knew? And that even in some communities, they pay a certain amount of money in order to have ceremonies like burial, wine carrying undisturbed? If the answer is yes, they know, it must mean that the communities have lost confidence in the institutions of state to take information to them and expect to be helped. Secondly, all the state governors have what they call security votes. I'm not aware that any of them is less than 1 billion a month. Yes, there are indications of what they use it with. But if you have that kind of money in a small space like the Southeast, and you actually spend it in 1 month on security, and there's insecurity, you should be embarrassed. You should ask yourself, what is security? And I'll cite an example. Last year, I was part of a team that went on a study tour to the US. We had some programs we were running for the ABI. And we went to this company. It's a drones manufacturer. No, not US, South Africa. It's a drones manufacturing company. Fantastic. And they sell weaponized drones. So after the formal presentations, all the speech making and everything, I had a private meeting with the major lead of the manufacturing section and the marketing man. I said, look, this thing is for sale. It's cheaper than the ones you have from Europe and among other places. He said, yes, they're coming to buy from Europe. I said, okay, here, we are from Nigeria. Look at this country called Nigeria. Tell me how many drones you will need, weaponized drones, to protect the entire space. So he floated Nigeria on the board, because each of the drones has a radius, a traveling range of 200 miles, which is 300 something kilometers, well, nearly 4. Oh, yeah, it will take 6 drones to cover the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I was speechless. He said, 6 drones? He said, yes, weaponized with a control room. I said, okay, I'm from Anambra State. So if this is to happen, how many drones will my state need? He put Anambra State on the map and laughed. He said, no, your state's kind of, well, I think your state will probably have to collaborate with 2 or 3 other states in order to need a full drone. I said, I don't know. They said 1 drone would be enough, but it's too much for your state. Now, in terms of cost, he said that the 6 drones for the Federal Republic of Nigeria will cost $90 million. I said, okay, how about my state? He said it will cost $30 million. I said, well, I don't know where your version of mathematics or arithmetic is coming from, but if 6 drones would cost 90 million, and this 90 million covers, I think, either 3 months or 6 months or 3 years, I don't remember now, of training of them, manning and managing it while Nigerians will be there until they take over, until they are fully priced. I said, so why would it cost us 30 million for a state in the South? He said, well, the cost of the manning and training and all of that is the same, but the drone itself is substantial amount. Now, what am I leading up to? The crisis of insecurity in the state revolves around the progressive collapse of traditional sense of community, the growing insensitivity of people in public office, such that they are busy with their big cars all over the Southeast, interested in their personal security, but detached both from those who elected them and from the environment in which they are supposed to reside. Those are the core challenges. In terms of solutions, the solutions have a major headache in the fact that the state, by that I mean the apparatus of state, is no longer trusted. So when you come for security-related events, people come there and make speeches and tell you what ought to happen, not what they are doing about it. That is my major worry, that the elite that would ordinarily come together and say, look at the solution we are putting forward, are all now afraid of going home. I don't know when last anybody who is listening to this program went home. And by that, I mean going to the East to celebrate anything. It's even gotten so bad that with the decay of values on your travel, chances are that it will be your cousins or people who know you in the village that will alert their colleague kidnappers that so and so has come in, come and pick him, let's share the money later. So the problem is real. Lack of elite cohesion, disappearance of sense of community, complicity in the part of communities that are afraid of speaking up because they fear that when they speak up, the very security agencies they are talking to will be the ones to tell the kidnappers is the person who came to talk to us. So everyone is looking at the possibility of a containment strategy. How do we survive here from day to day because we know that the government no longer cares about us? That's a sad picture I see about the Southeast and really actually about most parts of the country.
Prof, onye The future appears to be gloomy, sort of. Makana.
So.
Ọ bụrụ na dịka isi kwu na o nwere ndị kwetalụ na ego dị etu a ka enwee ike isi wee weta ka amalụ etu ha yi enebi anya. Maka na mgbe ụfọdụ ọ bụ na ine operations a na-eje asị gị na-ejelụ na ekliala ebe a ị na-enezi anya ka egosi gị ndị nọ n'ebe a asị gị na eklia ejide o nwere ihe anyị ga-afụ na-asị ma ọ na a na-ebu ekwe aga amalụva na anyị na-abịakwa n'ụlọ gbananụ ka anyị bịa mee amansi ụfọdụ si na-etu aka ọ dị mana that leads me to maka na anyị kwuo okwu security now then ibe n'anya na ndị ọ dị anyị ka ọ dịfa nwee mgbe COVID no matter etu ọ bụ na ha isi na-eme ya ụmụ ifefa nwee kịta a na-akpọ Amotekwu. Ajụjụ m wee bụrụ the inability of the Southeast Governors Forum to establish a unified regional security outfit like the Amotekwu in the Southwest. I strongly believe that it has left an Igbo vulnerable to increasing insecurity. What do you think are the major factors hindering a coordinated, now the keyword, coordinated security response in the region? And how can these obstacles be overcome? Because in anya, onwelu Enugu nwe control nwe nke fa na-eme. Anambra nwe nke udogachi anyị na-afụ eme, Imo na-emekwa mkpọtụ n'ụdị nke fa. Mana one critical thing dị here bụ na ịchụ afa oke Imo na Anambra ọ bụ nọ ndị Anambra chụfa fa gbaba Imo, ndị Imo chụọ fa fa gbabata ọ bụrụ Ọsụ Lilu a na-agbaghalị ịbata n'Enugu nweka esi chụọ afa agbaga Kogi maọbụ akwụkwọ ndị Anambra chụfa agbaga Enugu kpasuo fa agbara ndị akpasuo ọgbaga Ebonyi. In line with what you said before, do ihe iche bụ the major factors na hinder this coordinated security response in this region, and kedu ihe anyị nwere ike ime ka ọ kwụsị ime?
Well, Igbo sị na ọrụkwa na-etulu di mba odogwu n'ọma onye a na-etu odogwu ọ bụ odogwu kpatara eji si na odogwu karịrị odogwu. What point am I making? I have coordinated efforts to deal with insecurity in the Southeast when the governors themselves are not coordinated among themselves? The answer is no. The Southeast governors do not always work together as a cohesive group. That's number one. Number two, and you can see that from so many angles. Look at the burial of Iwanyang. Look at any joint activity. There was a security summit in Imo State, I think 2 years ago. I was there. That security summit brought everybody, including Ikechukwu, former chief of army staff. It was coordinated, I think, or chaired by Chris Anyang. The outcome of that summit, as I speak to you, nothing has been done with it. Not all the governors came. Those who came, I think, 2 to 3 hours late, made their speeches, entered their vehicles, and left. Meanwhile, it was supposed to be a round table where they would hear from people on ground, interface, and interact before leaving. And so that summit is on record as a ceremony, not an attempt to deal with insecurity. Ebubago was set up, but Ebubago was not, what you might call it, it's not like Amotekwu. Amotekwu was set up by a realistic consensus in the area of what they will do, funding, etc. Some of the governors I learned were not in support of Ebubago in the Southeast and went out of their ways to sabotage it. Then you have IPOB. Let us not forget that the provocation, marginalization, and sustained diminution of the Southeast, especially the future of the Southeast, which is the youth, is what led to the emergence of that protest. That look, we are not being treated as a people, let's take care of ourselves. But then the question is how you can take care of yourself successfully. If you and I, Mazi, are operating from Uguoba as people who are trying to save Igbo by setting up Biafra, another 19 people are operating around Ntinga, all over the place. There's a question of command and control. There's a question of group philosophy. There's a question of even cohesion. Do we understand enough to be capable of carrying out that rescue? We can get arms and ammunition, pump action rifles, probably AK-47 here and there. But how will that eventually transform into our having a space called Biafra that belongs to us, from which we can govern and have, what you might call our own nation? If, for instance, you consider the sit at home on Monday, it's an indication of control of the environment. You're proving that you cannot allow your cousins. No any of your cousins say no crackers. So now the governors themselves are incapable of securing money for their respective states. People can't come out. So, and you're talking about securing the state on a continuous basis. Worse still, the governors, all of them, carry on as if sit at home does not exist. They carry on, and I'll cite two examples. One, and it's something that happened in 1999, and another, an IPOB-related matter. At that time, I was chairman of the editorial board of the Nation newspaper, which is now then at that time it was called the Comment. So shortly after we set up that newspaper, because we left the Guardian to join the group setting up a new newspaper. Shortly after that, I think a few months later, we had a visit from Yoruba leaders, because what predominantly Yorubas who funded that paper and who still own it. But I was chairman of the editorial board. Abraham Adesanya was the person who led the group. BC Akonde was there. And I noted two or three things. In the comments of the team leader, he had said that they had come to celebrate what they can call a Yoruba newspaper. That if the nation goes where they think it's going, they need a voice. And it was then that an analysis in the course of all that conversation brought us to a reality that nobody is paying attention to even today. As I speak, most of the newspapers in this country have always been owned by people from Niger Delta, particularly Delta State. So, but the West is seen as, the newspaper is seen as belonging to Southwest. So that the Abraham Adesanya said it, among other things. And if you recall, in 1999, there was a lot of trouble from the Yoruba group. What was it then? Led by Adams. I don't remember. I can't remember the name now. So,
OPC.
Any other? Yes. What was that? OPC, yes. So I raised the matter of OPC that is creating confusion, it's causing disruption, it's undermining national unity. Abraham Adesanya laughed and said, young man, I can call you young man because I know I'm much older than you, probably, if not twice your age. I'm 76. This was 99. And maybe I, at my age, I don't know where Nigeria is headed, but maybe because you're much younger, you know where Nigeria is headed. But I tell you, we've resolved among ourselves that it will be terrible if Nigeria ends up in the direction we think it's going to, and the Yoruba nation does not have an army. So let me tell you, if you like, you're the chairman of the editorial board. If you like, I can insult, or as they use colloquially, abuse this boy very well, the OPC leader. Say anything, he can be your headline, but in the evening, he will come to me to now give me instruction on what to do the next day and the week after. I was staring at him, and he said, that's what you people don't do in the Southeast. Nobody calls you. Your young men will talk. You abuse them in the newspaper and go back into your house. How do you hope to become cohesive as a people? That's story one. The second one to share was what happened during when was it? The year Ngige was governor briefly in Anambra State. There was a census. National census was coming on. Then it wasn't IPOB, it was Mascov. Had resolved that there will be no census in the Southeast, that they should not come here to disturb Biafra land, among other things. Then the Anambra State Public Officers and Elders Forum in Abuja set up a committee. I headed that committee to prevail on Mascov through their leader. Was Rike not to disrupt the census. So as we were about to leave, I said, no. You see, you must know that this is I told my committee members, this is a very sensitive matter. Let us go and see Ikemba, Ikechukwu. Let's go and see him and talk with him. He said, no. I said, no, we'll go. I've had a relationship with him from the early 90s when I was the Guardian editorial board. He will receive us. I called Enugu, Ikemba waited for us. We came around, I told him what we had come for. That look, we want to see Wazirike, but we need you to talk to him and tell him we are coming. He said, no, it doesn't present. I said, Onyesi. Mụnwa bịa kịta na-agwa ya, edishọn nwere ndị nyere m ego ka m bịa mebie okwu ndị Igbo. Ọ sị, nwoke m kịta ka m ghọtara ebe ị na-eje. Kịta ka m nwere onye ya nyere ego. But ife iji bịa kịta bụ ka m gwa Wazirike na mma onye na-abịa. Thank you, sir. Nsi biko gogwe ya na anyị na-abịa. Na onwe nke anyị kwuo ọ na-anabatara nya kpọọ ka ekwu etu esi dozie. But na anyị bi na-eje kịta na onwere onye ga-ama ma onwe ndizili anyị ozi ya. Ikemba agreed. Then I called the lawyer of Mascov. What's his name? He's late now. Ziggy from Imo State. I told him this is what we are trying to. Ziggy said, okay, you just saved your life. That this trip you went to Juku, to Ikemba is that is a flawless move. That even he as their lawyer is permanently under suspicion is because of who he is and the fact he takes no nonsense. He's been able to weather it. Long and short of story, we eventually were unable because Wazirike was in Kuje prison. We were unable to speak with him personally, even though we went there and tried. But we carried the campaign all over the Southeast. Told him, please, even though not, let them demobilize the people who say they will not allow the census. And the argument I made was simple. You say nobody should come and count Biafrans. I said, Biko, Rapunda kafa wele go Nigeria go anyono. Kaimalo nani dana nuziogo wanansubuadere. But let us also, until we leave Nigeria, we need to know how many we are. From that number, when can amalo kelulani. Now that's okay, that you cannot begin to refuse to be counted within a federation which you have not left. And there's no other group in this federation with whom you struck up any kind of agreement or sense. You're just screaming at your own backyard. In spite of these efforts, Mascov went out of his way to substantially undermine the census. The Bialigo census, how many of them are seed? Nago census and Awasi, the Wundunkuzi. These were teachers, and all of them were Igbos, residents in the area. So, it was one negative Geja Gona Amano Nuno. Okabunu Kaisi was a gauge journal. Okwanega did deformed. So that's why, as I speak to you today, the population of the Southeast following the, I think, 2005 census is what it is because the census officers, the enumerators were not allowed to count most part of the Southeast. So today we have a laughable population on record, which is the extreme opposite of what we have on the ground. Also because of that, because each time you want to have a census, assuming I come to a place like, I don't know, on a Chawel, but let's suppose, yes, there's a place called Odapu.
Odapu, yeah.
I come there, sorry?
That's Odapu, yes.
Yes. I come there today and count the number and divide the place into two because you have to divide the place to determine the counting area. Because if you say to count the whole Onitsha as one unit, it will be unrealistic. It will mislead planners. So I count Odapo, divide it into two. One side is, let's call it a conspiracy. If I'm coming back to count Odapo in 20 years, I can't say I'm counting 2 units. I will probably divide it into 6 or 8 because the population will have gone up. Now, for that 2005 census, northern governors went out of their way to secure, what do you call it? Means of doing this demarcation or delineation. The technical term is not right at the top of my head. Somebody even volunteered to make available. We made the contact to make available to us. 2 points I'm making here so that I save time. Number one, the counting area, let me use that expression, was not increased. So if I counted Odapo as 2 units 15 years ago, I came back and counted it probably as 2 units again, or 4 units, whereas it should have become 6 units. Mm-hmm. So all of that, those losses were there. Now it became so obvious that we are going to suffer this. So it turned out Ngige was in town. Myself and Dr. Ikechukwu, the current president of NIPR, ambushed him at Anambra State Guest House in Abuja. We got there by 5 a.m. because we learned he was leaving very early. We were able to see him and speak, but it didn't yield the desired result. Not that he refused to do anything, but the picture was not even too clear on what needed to be done to him and with him and all of that. Now, having put all that on the table, the issue before us the issues before us are several. Lack of elite consensus at the level of the governing elite. Lack of elite consensus and perception of group need at the level of the economic elite, the businessmen we have. Lack of elite consensus at the level of the feudal, or if you like, traditional elite. And the only place we have the elite consensus is with the religious elite in Igbo land. And their consensus revolves around how much influence they can wield over governors when it comes to elections and all of that. So they become a semi-terrorist organization. All the people that the local people describe as not very good people are very prominent in most of our churches. They are the ones getting titles from traditional rulers. They are the ones that everybody respects. And then obscene wealth is being celebrated. And that's where we come to the economic elite. A few months ago, somebody was to be made Mayor Igbo in Lagos. I wrote an article on the back page of this day, shredding that aspiration. I titled it Mayor Igbo, Remember the Kola North. Echicha Mayor Igbo na Lagos. Egwu ekweghị ọjị ma ị nata igwe unu nọ ịnọ n'ọgbọ ibi n'esi na onwe ihe ibu n'isi ya ebupụ emu igwe na-abata. And those who are encouraging these things are my mates biologically. So you see that ebe onye ọbụla na-anọ mmọnwụ niile bata n'ọgbọ si na ya bụ ijele ma ndị na-alọ ụkwụ ma oji ọnụ ma ụlaga ma agaba iru mmọnwụ ya dọkara adọka onye na ya bụ ijele ọnya ka Igbo na ya na ụsụ binizie na-abasị na ya bụ nnụnụ na ụsụkwa ekenekwa m unu. Hello.
Prof, I've been dịka nke ikwu n'ikpeazụ anụnwa na ụsụ bini na-abani ọ bụ nnụnụ. Ọ bụ onwe ka ọ dị. Prof, there is something that is constant in all you have said here. You talked about elite concept. Now, what role should the Igbo political elite play in ensuring effective security architecture, and how do we hold them accountable? How do we hold them accountable? You highlighted here in 2023, all of us, we are all of us assembled in, the person that coordinated was Senator Chris Anyanwu, as you rightly said. I was there. We provided the media coverage, the live stream, and all whatnot. The Southeast governors, I think the head of the the security committee. I believe that was Engineer Chris Okey. In all this, the people that
sorry, please. Sorry for a quick interruption, please. May I?
Yes, go ahead, sir.
On that very night, the security advisor of the host governor was kidnapped. I'm not aware he has been found until today. Continue.
Okay. So, I mean...
And he's a retired Major General.
Okay. Now, the question, Najubu, because we keep going back to the elite consensus, ndị ọ bụ no imago Igbo Suba for this no the DBS, DBS not the today, no the intellectuals, ndị na-edu obodo, the aristocrats, ndị malifa, ndị deep thinkers. We converged in over almost something I agree, which you are aware, part of economics and part in the security side. On the security side, something was muted to replace Ebubagu, which could named Anyoha, and also a regional, legislative agreement to back it up. Now, why I am asking this question, Buna, the role of the Igbo political elite, kedu ihe ha ga-eme this security architecture na-afụ and the governors, you rightly said, they're hit and miss. Kedu se ka ha ga-esi ndị Igbo bụ ndị Igbo n'onwefa ga-eji wee hold all these leaders accountable? One, ka anyị ghara ịkwụsị iwe imebisi ego, because onwe onye nkwekwa m the other day na-achọkwa ime another summit. Nsị a nke eme mbụ anana nwa mbụ egboro n'igbe a na-ekwu nke ịbụa. So kedu ka anyị esi kwa onye ukwu walụ? How do we hold them accountable?
Okay, I'll take it from several angles. Probably I'll begin with a demoralizing statement. The Igbo elite as it exists today is not yet capable of consensus. That extreme position, I will expand on it. Onye ka ị ga-akpọ nzukọ, ịkpọ ọkụ onye ya onye isi oche. If you look through the social media, particularly the WhatsApp group, and this is what I've done as a professional communication expert in the Nigerian and non-Nigerian space. The Igbo have the highest number of WhatsApp groups. All of them populated by presumably enlightened people. Every single one of them working out a development plan for the Southeast. In one group, you may be comprised of 80 people. Another one group is comprised of 105. Another one group is 66 people. And they're all working out development plans, how to develop the Southeast. Each group is unwilling to collapse into another or work together. Burial of a prominent person is set up two groups. Imagine somebody like Ferdinand Dago, sophisticated, brilliant fellow, great man. Ferdinand Dago, more than WhatsApp group within a burial. And these are the most enlightened among us in Igbo land. And say have checkenel and on with Nana Mabia. No onye pụta n'ọgbọ, apụta n'ọgbọ ikwubaka the family. Ana yo ebi na-ekwu okwucha, Ikenna ebi na-ekwu okwucha, Chizoba ebi na for the same family is evidence na enwero onye azụrụ azụ there. In the end, none of the groups agreed to collapse. That tells you a lot. So these are individual efforts. I'm back in the early 200s. I don't know whether the group is still there. The Southeast Economic Summit Group. I was invited to become. I don't. Is it still there?
It's still there. The one that was the Evo unveiling Nuturu.
Oh, I see. Well,
then.
No, not Okwenna. No, this Okwenna thing is a very recent development. Very, very recent. The Southeast Economic Summit Group, Okey what's this man now? Abalanze.
Okay, yeah.
Now, so I joined the group. Fantastic ideas about how to develop the Southeast, port, Azumiri River, the roads that will connect the states, and And they had this conversation and all these plans had been on for years before I joined. After listening to my first meeting, these were fantastic ideas, which once implemented, Southeast will be like Europe, if not heaven. Enjoy. Is there any representation from any of the state governors? There was none. And this meeting has been going on for a long time. Now, that's what I've seen that characterizes more than 98% of all Igbo platforms. People will sit down, either WhatsApp, but now mostly WhatsApp, work out fantastic ideas. Now, nothing Igbo had landlocked. No one really isi ebe abata emenye etu a na-agụ na-ekwe onye na-ekwu onwerokwa shovel onwere anything ọ na-akwado ime echi. Mwụrụ gọvanọ n'Enugu kịta nọlụ nnọọ ịpụta bụ greda gwuru ana si na ị na-ebu ebuild road that will connect Enugu to Imo State. Onye gwara gị bido onye ka ịhụ. So this level of political illiteracy, which that's what it is, of the elite. If it does something, somebody will go and start another one to show you now. That's the crisis. Now go and look at the people who supported the plan for Mayor Ndibo. Go and look at the composition of all the groups, whether Anyandibo or Anyandausa, all on WhatsApp, all sorts of groups. Then also look at the age bracket of all those, whether Kikenga or Mo, Okwikenga, Moake, Beikenga, Ndibo Lagos, Ndibo Azumeri, Ndibo Territory. Go and look at the age bracket, the average age of people not there. I am over 60, and majority of them Tom. There's no connection with the younger Igbo generation. Nobody is paying attention to the fact that when you look at those who are operating on the fringe of legality to survive, smugglers and all of that, you have a larger population of our people. And the Banya Day is worried. But the shrinking of the economic space and the political space, they are mates in other parts of the federation, brought into reckoning and involvement and survival platforms by their interaction with the Nigerian state. Our young people are not. And the leading political elite, the older generation, is not bringing them into a way of understanding power politics, of understanding of make 1 billion every month. Not that a policymaker may take a decision, they may reduce that 1 billion every month to 500,000 naira from where he is, and younger political leverage. In which other parts of the country do you find custom coming as regularly as they do into market? Ibu si obodo Igbo bata, by road from Lagos, gafe Ijebo, de gagide gafe Bini, gafe Asaba, gagide bata on the main market. Then customer bata na lane, buli esena or contraband. Kusine nuda, sonani Igbo. Kana apit on the mother kana one.
Prof, I hear you. I don't know if you know. Mana.
Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you, Prof.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
You know, so can I fit on the bus? So you then find that, yeah, okay, on where a page is Tommy Chacha. When you call, who will fund it? When he came back, died, that was the chairman of the publicity committee. For the 5 eastern states to bury Chukwu, I think each was billed for 10 million. As the day got close, only Anambra State put down his own 10 million. If you check the records, that date changed. In the end, nearly no people be on any Ojukwu. So, and Negali anya, look at the age bracket of those who are trying to save the Southeast. Enajo, ono mwazi anọ. Okenye na-ari enu aghọta ube. Ọ aka nwatakịrị ka okenye ji ari. Na okenye na-alachakwa n'ube aghọtara aghọta na ụmụ ya riri enu ọ ụmụ ya ndị nwa di ya. Not na ọ riri enu. Mana okenye who is at the age of 80, who obulungu na-apịachi ube, ọ nwerọkwa onye ọzọ n'ite. And ọ bụrụ na ụmụazị ya nọrọ. That's what is happening. Near the age bracket. Then how our youths are being treated. Look at the Igbo philosophy of leadership. Even I've been at a conference where a professor made an interesting presentation. No everyone what on other can the mother nature. It didn't occur, and I had to make my own intervention. It didn't occur, it doesn't occur to us today. So that statement used to be an admonition. I say, okay, maybe somebody took a chieftaincy title, I go to his house, and maybe they met you on your number that then you will stay there until 9 and you're coming home. Your father will be at the entrance or say, okay, Ikechukwu ondonde akicho ibi. Oh, maka na nwa nkwọchiri ọzọ ka iji ja maro na chi ejigo mgbe chichi. Ịmaro no egwu na-eso onye bụ Igbo. Don't you know he's a fool, a bastard, a non-entity that will allow his life to be guided by his stomach rather than his faculties. That is what you now find an Igbo elite thinking is a philosophy of leadership and followership, whereas it was an admonition. You also have an elite that doesn't know the meaning of Ago. Ago is not lion. No. Ago is leopard. Ebubago. Because Igbo, enwero Ago, enwero Odum. Batali na abike, ike asịrị na Odum na ebukwa Ago.
Yeah.
Look at the Biafran coat of arms. Ago not there. It's a leopard. Traditionally, look at anybody who has a title of Obuago. You see the skin of the Ago he killed. It's a leopard. So, KBA bidodo. As you know, Julia Jessiopo Nubu or Deora. They are just any other ingredients. No, what do you also know 1 year in a kitchen? I'm going to go Nubu Sineapta. I can go angry.
Prof. Prof. Okwana nke a ikwukwu ọbalụ na asị na ụbụba karịa mana ụmụ ofu ihe kafa ọnụ in all this kedu ihe anyị ga-eme anyị mana ndị kwesịrị idu anyị ara edutazi ya dịka okwu ikwube onwe nke a na-akpọkwaza si n'ebe pọmpụ na-agba ka a na-etinye bọket wee bụrụ ihe eji alapụ ụmụazị mana ọ bụrụ ha bụ na anyị na-echigata azụ kedu all this kedu ihe anyị ga-eme to hold them accountable. Example bụ na ọ bụ na anyị na-anya mụ na ọtụtụ ndị bịarụ the summit security summit n'Owerri mụ na fana ọ nwere onye obi dị m mana ọ bụ sị ha ịkpasị ọbụla okwu fon kedu ihe anyị nwee ike ime ka anyị si ndị na-achị achị ndị anyị rọpụta na-ekwu na ihe anyị gwara unu meela anyị anya ọha akwetara n'Imo steeti kedu ebe ọ dị regional security na-ekweta kedu ebe ọ dị nke a kedu ebe ọ dị kedu ihe anyị nwee ike ime
n'anya ise anya ọha ekweta n'Imo steeti ịma na mkpụrụ okwu eji kọwaa ihe ebu n'uche ka eji ama ihe ekwuru anya ọha ekwuru maka ya is different from anya ọha ekwetara o nwere onye kwetara na ekwu maka ya anyị nọ ya there was no agreement propose onye ka ikwu ịnọ na hall what's the full attendance kedu ndị nyere ke action implementation committee ke action plan o nwere ke funding nothing mgbe edela akwụkwọ forward how many governors acknowledged it If none of these things happen, it will not see anything. So those are some of the facts we need to see that's on the table. What do we do? I'll cite you an example of what we did sometime. I'm from Anambra State. Sometime, I think 2008, somebody, or is it 9 now, I don't remember. Somebody made me organize a meeting for me to meet with somebody, Senate, as well, governorship. So he wanted me to give him a blueprint and run the campaign professionally for him. I could just see him when I saw the fellows in Ochole governor. So when I got back, boy Ike, who is my friend, Dr. Ike Nelia, then Ike Okey. Nsi na-alụ mekwa na Anambra na onye dị etu a na-achọkwa ịzọ gọvanọ. Ọ sị ka etu a. Nsi na ka etu ọzọ n'ọnụ ka ọchị ya m na ndị ọzọ. Ọ sị na ọ nwere ndị egwu na datụkwa. Nsi Ike na anyị bi Abuja. We are living in our comfortable houses. Onye ọ na nwe generator dị bịa. Onye ọ na nwe borehole. So asịgodu na o nwere ihe ọzọ na-eme ya apụ n'ilo. You live well. He said, no, Ike agreed. Okay, we set up a program I had designed for a state, a rebirth program. We have to go and execute this free for our people in Anambra. That was it. How did we start? We started by consulting all the prominent Anambra people in Abuja, one after the other. All the prominent Anambra people in Lagos and various parts of the country, every single traditional ruler in Anambra State, every town union president, every religious leader. These consultations alone took us 4 months at our own cost. When we had finished, we now met all the registered associations. We got their records from the state equivalent of, what do you call it now, corporate commission. We met all of them one by one. We met all the youth leaders. The first program we organized was a project management training for youth leaders. They call her no Buddha and Equaccord. Now, we'll be at the last. Nilwanya, you make a tabajo factory game, Michigo. And all in a Kwangwakwa, or no way shop you may, or no way that no is skill. Eventually, this went on, and we were moving from one to the other. We organized Anambra People's Summit, not Kabiasu Igbo, because by the time we called that meeting, all the traditional rulers came, all the market leaders came, because I mean to put market leaders in addition to town union presidents, all over. That was presided over by Abogidi. But Abogidi, when meeting that day, he sent Igwa legs. Igwa legs to half of the traditional rulers for that in Anambra State to the event. Abogidi didn't have an hour or two later. He came with the rest. This program went on. We organized the first governorship debate in Nigeria. We didn't ask for government support. We didn't ask for businessmen because that was the idea. Somebody said, oh, fundraising. And when we started, I asked Ike, by then the number had grown. Each person should bring one person, let's expand. By the time we got to 17, I asked him, Ike, with this number now, how many people do you think really can be depended upon that they won't give up halfway and all of that? Ike said, well, I'm worried about this and that and that. Out of this 17, I think 14 and half of us will be fully committed. I said, why do you ask? I said, I needed to know. I'll see you, what do you think? I said, well, I'm very sure about my only one person in addition to myself. He said, okay, what kind of nonsense is that? Don't be so uncharitable. I said, I know, that kind of genuine become all the years, so yeah, when you're going to the other, and say, you are the only one, I'm sure. Or say, no, in fact, let's discuss something else. To cut a long story short, at the end of the day, it was only Ike that was left standing with me. Some people after the meeting will take the record of meetings to go and give a prominent politician, I don't want to name him, and tell him that, oh, there's this group is putting together for him and we will collect money for it. Now, what I'm leading up to is that by the time that activity, Anambra Rebirth, got enough traction, the governor came to beg us to work with him and run a youth program. And out of that youth program, we got 5,131 live phone numbers. Now, the point I'm making is this. The structures for control of our environment exist. They are not being tapped. Igbo council, what do you call the town union president, Mel has speech in a hall. They need greater relevance. So people must be available to do this, do the legwork, talk to people, change their mindset. When you say you call a town hall meeting in any state, people like you and I will go. Ndị nọ n'ugbo nọ n'ugbo, ndị na-azụ ahịa nọ. Whereas if market leaders are the ones spoken to, they have a constituency they can reach. Now, the thinking and the capacity and the patience to go through with this and sustain it and keep it going is what is missing. What I usually tell people, okay, something so I'm not seeing that consensus arising very quickly, but I'm seeing that consensus as capable of being quickly created if there's focused leadership with a clear template, correct templates on the concept of development. Overall development or infrastructure. Nilu schools, they've been in a flyover. School learning infrastructure, ego neki na ndị nkuzi. Ndị nkuzi oneki send for extra training. Those are the issues. So yes, the picture might look bleak the way I'm presenting it, but actually see it as bleak. If Orom can say according to Makoye ndị gụrụ akwụkwọ na-eji alafu a confuse ndị be anyị ịkpọ prọfesọ ka o kwuo something like it ejom ka a ga-eme maka security. When say, Mazi, you know, security has no accepted definition. Umunakwe defined it as this and that. Yeah. John Otuanya defined it as that. Kedin kukeno kunofese negola gwanani ho. Ebe experts na umaro the meaning. Why you jabo expert? I'm solution disposed. I'm a solutions person. The solution is not inside. Sometimes the step towards the solution is to give a clear perspective of the extent of the program, of the problem. So that in the chain I had the solution, among other things. My brother, the issues are scary. And unless the full extent is understood, we'll be doing very small interventions. Oja, onye na-apụ ọja na-aba na mmọnwụ ya agbali na agụ ya agbali ọsọ ọ gụkwa breakfast agụkwa ya n'iru.
Prof, anyị ga-aga n'iru ka anyị rapụ kene security na ama na asị na maka nchekwa bụ kalịsị nke ka nke ka ewutekala ka njukene ya ajụjụ ikpeazụ ihe gbasara nchekwa tupu anyị agaba n'iru. Anyị ma na gọvanọ mụ na anyị bụ nke onye ọkacha gụọ akwụkwọ bụ prọfesọ Chukwuma, ndị otu unu ndị gụrụ oke akwụkwọ ndị nke anyị ọ dị ka mgbe anyị chọzi ibido ịgụ nke anyị ife eji ede edemede dagbuo onye nkụzi wee kwụsịzi. Operation Udogachi has shown some success in tackling insecurity in Anambra. But without a regional security structure, criminal element, will simply migrate to...
They'll relocate to the nearest state.
Yeah. You know, in this case, now again, to wrap it up, what would be an ideal security architecture for the Southeast to look like? And what role should non-state actors, again, Ibian and Ka, because Imana, of course, also police, army, no windows or a na-achụ ndị na-ebu ego ayọrọ abụrụkwa ndị ego ayọrọ ụfọdụ tinyekwa n'imefa. So what is the role of, kedu the what role should the non-state actors and traditional institutions play in this implementation of Udogachi? And that applies to other states as well, but using Anambra State as a case study quickly.
It is simple. First of all, I hate to Toludafa. No, now, because no bidol this thing, it's only going to do Balanya. Only going to do Balosto. No going to Kanakwadeba. You said?
Before this not be 3 years late.
Oh, yes, man, how much has it been? Ọrụ na Nwankwọ bịara na Nwankwọ na-alụ ụkwụ mgbe ọ bịa nzukọ nọ na Nwankwọ abịago nzukọ Nwankwọ na-eche so onye be ka ọ ya ọbịa oche ka mmadụ nụ ya onwe ndị enwudego yes onwe nke akwụsị yes ikwekene na onwego nke mee na ọ bụrụ kwa ụbọchị ka nwere mgbe ihe eje exam si na ọmụ onye na nwere 100% na usoro dị ndị be anyị mkpesa karị ime asị na nekene na-eke osimiri imerọchacha asị nwa anụmanụ na ọkụ ngwụlọ ka mmadụ n'ụlọ ya biko so o bidoro go something. Now imagine that all the states all the Southeast state governors announced that any place a kidnapping takes place the traditional ruler will be suspended for 1 week. The town union president, whatever, and that if after 1 week there is no this thing, he'll be dethroned. And it becomes a rule around Southeast. Of course, when they eject and all of that. Chetenoge Erufai governor. May install what do you call it? Solar light. Mecha ya install. Oh, tutu na ba chowa ni na cho. Also, that's the border. And here 72 hours. That even 72 hours, those stolen lights are not restored. All the villages, I think, or emirs or whatever in the area will be replaced, or basically will be dethroned. In less than 48 hours out of the 72, all those things were recovered. We are found, quote unquote. And they make kidnapping. Yeah, I read the story of the kidnapper who said he was supposed to be not having any change and all of that. Meanwhile, no able PG in here. Kaji didn't make kidnapping in the night after Alocho, and that was because their payments were stopped and up. You will always have criminal elements anywhere, in any society, in any circumstance, in any environment, sometimes in any family. So misconduct is not non-existent in states and places that have peace. It is controlled, it is made unattractive, and is enforced. What perhaps might need to be handled with some care in the Udogachi and among other things is let it be structured in such a way that with or without a governor, it will be part of the organic security architecture. Enugu State, Aka recovered Ochoro completely from Ijehan and Namani. It was those who worked for him, I hear, as talks and all sorts of things, that later became the security challenge of the state. Then I heard about Ndakodo, I think something like that, Nanambra, and I saw a clip. There were some young men they were having their limbs broken with pestle, Ejiasuni. I said, no, Ndakodo, also the new security. This thing, I don't know whether that's true. But for regional architect, for security architecture, let's start from state security architecture. Assuming nature London Kenyan Sobuna your state and and that my own already na mago na only Jena Duranya in that place, na Governor Emmanuel will be more vigilant and looking out for strangers than becoming victims of Ndana Babata. That's the kind of thing. But that failure of the regional governors to hold a common position on most of these issues, and where they even have a position to fund it, is another matter. But also, in fairness to the governors are managing an elite that does not realize the need for one voice in any point they want to make. Now, if you say, for instance, this is the position of the Igbo economic elite on any issue, what you'll find is that somebody say, that is the problem, or that's part of the problem. So what to do? Each governor because they've met several times after speeches, those resolutions must be seen for what they are. Ihe ekwu ka eme and ihe ekwere na a ga-eme, they are two different things. What we've been dealing with are things that people suggest should be done, as distinct from what has been agreed that must be done. The failure to make that distinction leaves us with the illusion that we have to meet with the solutions which are waiting to be implemented. Who ratified it? Who agreed with it? You know, I recall a meeting, one of the meetings where we went to meet Hope, the governor of Imo State, because whether you like it or not, the governor of Imo State is the visible governor taken more seriously, one of the governors taken very seriously in anything relating to the Southeast. Oh, Hanese was going to meet with him. They created one of Hanese Trust, something like that, to go and demand that the resolution will be implemented. The group was led by Ikechukwu. I flew in from Abuja. We all gathered, and then to go and meet in Iwanyanwu's house for him to take us to go to the governor's place. There was even a prepared statement, and the secretary, Okey, did a wonderful job of putting that group together, what needed to be done. We now got to Iwanyanwu's place to move to the governor's place. He said that he's not a small boy, that nobody should think he doesn't know what's going on. But if they don't want him to be Hanese president, they should say so. How could they come here? And it was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. So what the point I'm making is the challenge of consensus, the tendency for every person to see himself as the only masquerade in the village square, the absence of youth involvement in Southeast leadership platforms. And I say total absence. If you look at youth leaders, most of them are in their mid-40s or higher. I started teaching in the university at the age of 27. There is no space at the top by Igbo older generation. When they tried to form the SDP, when was it now? Around 2019, reform the party, some of us got involved much earlier than that. You know, Ike again was involved, a few others, Jerry Gana. Oh, you're going to be this. I said I'm 50-something. Get young people, some of us. It's in the Southeast, I see somebody who is 72 struggling to become a minister. So you have not mentored anybody. That's indicative of lack of fulfillment. That's what's dominating the space. Everywhere. Okay, everywhere. Look at even the political crisis in the Southeast. Look at Labour Party. The Labour Party in the Southeast. Peter is the only candidate for now viable from the Southeast. Who is rallying around him? Who is he also himself rallying around? So, but on the substantive issue you raised, the position is not hopeless. And you have capacity for bouncing back. Let each governor begin to do something. But by the time you transfer responsibility for security information to the states, to the localities, you're likely to make some extra mileage better than what we're seeing at the moment at all levels.
Thank you very much. Well said. Neganiru, can you hear Basalo Southeast Development Commission? The president had signed that into law. Now it has been established and we will on board. Ọ bụrụ na ị ga-eji nwe ihe dịka nkeji na-abụgwa anyị, kedu ihe bụ ihe ọ ga-abụ ha bido ime? What do you think could be their short, medium, and long term? And
okay. Yeah, I understand the question. After this, I'll send you an interview I already gave on this, even before it was inaugurated. But my answer to your question is simple. In the short term, they should consult. In other words, go around the entire Southeast and identify the needs of the people, not their wants. So that consultation will give them a clear picture of what needs to happen in the next 6 months, 1 year, whatever, or at the end of, for 10 years from now. Consultation on projects with massive multiplier effect that will impact the economic life of the people as distinct from the physical infrastructure of environment. Oh, we built flyover from Nobi to Omonquacha. No. That's one. Two, they should create consensus around value for money spent. They should consensus around value for money spent. Three, they should liaise very closely with the governor so that the governors don't see them as competitors. They should identify for each state from the governor himself what he would want the commission to execute in its name under his state. So that liaison is important so egos are not hurt or bruised or aroused, and it will go on to do. I'm personally not a lover of development commissions. I've always spoken and written against it. NDDC has not developed the Southwest, the South-South. Nothing Development Commission is just a procurement platform. Development is about making what is there resurrect and live. If you want to develop a farming community, it's not by what do you call it? It's not by providing tent and mosquito net and rights. That is consumption. It's just an expenditure heading. Development will be making it possible for them to return to the activities for which they are known and by which they earn their livelihood and by which they can restore a sense of community. So, but since it's what is going on now, and we've gotten our own, let's set an example for those who've not been handling their own well, in my view. And you have the right kind of people. Wogu is very experienced in power politics and in all of this. What's his name? The MD CEO. I mean, he's gotten a name for himself based on performance, beginning from the tenure of P2B through Obiano to Soludo. I think they did a sent for him last week or the week before. So let them focus on. Sorry,
Okey.
Mark. Yes, Mark. Yeah. So let them focus on the things that will have impact. I'm glad they are not in a hurry to say we are flagging off this project. No. Let them take their time. Delineate projects that need to be executed, put them to timelines. As they are starting, they should have a good public outing where it will be indicated, yes, we've gone round, we spoke with these people, we arrived at this is the sequence of activity. To have a reassuring effect, because don't forget, for every one of them in that commission, his governor, her governor will be looking at him or her as a potential challenger in an election. That's the thing to consider. You come to execute a project, they are looking. What project? Costing on what you now. I'll leave it at that, pertaining to the commission.
How do we, when I say we, all of us, you and I, how do we ensure that the Southeast Development Commission does not become another bureaucratic institution, an engine, but an engine for industrial and infrastructure transformation? You highlighted and you mentioned the NDDC, which had a secretariat that they built for, I don't know, maybe 2 decades, that was barely completed, and humongous amount of money siphoned to a point.
And also a useless facility, if you ask me. They had no need for that.
Well, at some point when they were investigated and the epic of the mic ensued, and
I remember.
Today, the mic is still off, consider that. What is it? Because imana o kwesịrị inwe ihe mere anyị, o nwere ihe mere anyị ji bụrụ ndị Igbo. Ndị Igbo bụ na ọ bụ na anyị na-eke n'anya ka nwa onye a si eme, akpọ otu mmadụ adọ ya aka. Nsị na o nwere ihe mere anyị ji bụrụ ndị Igbo. O nwere ka mmadụ na-eme. Nna gị kpọsị gị na-ekwe nwatakịrị ya dị etu a emekwana ka ya. Kedu ihe ga-eme to ensure that I am and this because like this you say you're not a fan of the Development Commission, meaning that this Development Commission because all the development of Development Commission Yes.
My point about I don't like development commissions generally. Because that's why I'm leading to it. Ihe natural, manobata, balul. That's where I'm leading up to. Now, because what he's doing are supposed to be the functions of the state government.
Yes.
Now, failure of the state governments has led to commissions. Therefore, let the Southeast Development Commission show Nigeria the job of a development commission that has its head properly screwed on. It's as simple as that. They could go see my consultation. Then identify actual development projects and invest in them. Begin by a detailed layout of Nanenka Nagime. In the first 1 to 5 years, Naneba year 2, Neba year 3. That way you have a template that's clear on the table. So each year, everybody put an hour, they say, and on a contract, actually, it's in a development plan. And no guy in a mere, nine and the governor. They will have control of their own actions, their own narratives, and their own processes. That is what needs to happen. That's what has to happen.
Okay.
You know. And yes, in terms of how do we hold them? Look, if all of them choose arrive at a consensus, can they make one contract make ego on That's what's going on over Nigeria.
I am very key will okute bafege n'azụ onwe onye nwe ka motimive zo ya mmiri n'arụ. I mean,
onye na-ezu mmiri n'arụ, onye na-ezo mmiri n'arụ ihe ejedebe nye nso. Ndị niile na-akpa ike ha na-akpa na ndị izizi onwenugo onye achịwa ka ọfọ na mmiri zoro ya n'arụ. The point is that why I'm not worried is that ndị etinye na commission nke Southeast Development Commission bụ ndị ya na-achọ capital ha. You get? On the gas, on the nwere many of them other gas mba na-ekwesị. That's my joy. That's my relief. So I'm looking at the Southeast Development Commission with a lot of expectation and hope. And I'm glad they are not moving in a hurry. They should not try to impress anybody. Is their name does not underline because half of Takita America any of them if things go wrong. Can you imagine? So
since dịka onye ọ na-asị mara mgbe Emeaghi Ọkpara nna anyị ukwu nwụgo anwụ bụ Emeaghi Ọkpara mgbe ọ bụ onye isi na-achịkọta East na mgbe mbụ or rather East Central State ọ bụ na anyị na-anya o nwelu developmental master plan mana otu o si wee dị Southeast Governor Forum they have failed in giving us a developmental master plan. Ọhaneze nwere kafasi wee mee enwe nke emelu ala Igbo Stabilization Fund emesịa enwe iwe nke iwe anyanwụ kpọrọ Osno business, nwere something ọkpọrọ related to business. I think appointed somebody to head that. Onwero nke enwe isi. Do you think that it will be wise for this commission now to look into developing a regional economic master plan that fosters manufacturing, agribusiness, technology-driven entrepreneurship in the Southeast? Or they call it with a master plan or MSA, maybe they will interface with the governor to agree on how to drive it.
I think it would be good to interface from the beginning, not just finish it and bring it down. Ali Igbo Development Foundation, all those foundations. Mas, you yourself would have noticed over the years my very limited visibility and involvement.
Yes.
I don't get it. I to see that, okay, take Ambraco. You remember when it was launched in Anambra? I was at the event after the launching. Oh, governor, see that you're a businessman. What has just been launched? People be make a PowerPoint presentation. It will see those Anambra. Go how on nature will look. Nature. People bought shares. A relation of mine, but see shares. Oh, no, not them. You see, people mistake enthusiasm for plans. They mistake excitement for logic. I've made a presentation on how I will do this, how I will do this. We're going to do this and that and that. I think it was under League of Anambra Professionals. Wakenem League of Anambra Professionals. Without prejudice to Yomego. What does it represent today? What has it represented in the last 20 years? What has it achieved? How many young people know about it are joining it? Ndị okenye bidoro this thing when they were young. Onwero nke na-ekwe na otu nitego ka ọfọzi ya na ọkara nka. Akpọ meeting, the number is reducing consistently. Nobody is noticing that. So going back to the substantive matter, sorry, hold on.
My guests, Biko, everyone watching us, those in the Zoom and those watching us on our YouTube platform, please, if you do have your questions, you can please.
Hello.
Yeah, Prof. Hold on. Let me make an announcement. If you do have your questions for the audience participation, those of you participating online, if you can type your question, that's fine. But those in the in this room, if you, as usual, you know the drill. You can raise your digital hand. The moment you get to the point that you ask question, we will bring you in to ask your question respectfully. Thank you very much, Prof. Over to you.
So, because NDD's Southeast Development Commission should steer clear of Igbo, Hausa, Mmiri Development stuff like what has this? I'm not saying that he's not doing anything else. I'm saying that thing has been on for how many years? Akuruolo, Nani Bie, Oyibo Kana, my dear brother.
Okay, mana abu na ina the South, the Southeast faces significant infrastructural deficits.
Challenges, yes.
From poor road network to inconsistent, power supply. Some of them the exclusive list. However, in the last constitutional amendment, from exclusive to concurrent. What are the immediate that the region, steps that regional collaboration can take to address some of these challenges? Maybe roads.
I think there are two things they will need to deal with. A lot of things they need to deal with, but staggered properly. The South needs a rail network. The land area is small, so they should look into that. Power, rail, then road infrastructure, and all of that. Power is critical because of all the essential. Yes, it's presumably on the exclusive list, but not anymore, and not to the same extent. Geometric is there, so there's something. If you give the Southeast power, imagine what will be happening in Newi, Onitsha, and so many other places all over the Southeast. So that's one. Then rail, Nigeria is giving rails to all other regions except the Southeast. That's why I say that the Southeast Development Commission should show this country the meaning of development by serious people. That's the angle I will pursue it from. That way, if you say you're doing rail, that will not disturb anybody's ego too badly. You get no rail, natural, rail network, deliver within this time and power. And then you begin to look at all these other things. As for industrial discipline, practically every state has what they call an industrial hub, or there's this one of them, they have it. In many of them, you'll actually go to the place, innovation centers, you see a big building, most of the time a hall with sewing machines, with a lot of things, celebrated with a lot of fanfare, but delivering very little in terms of the value of the cost of it. The commission should not be seen to compete with the governors on any of their pet projects. That should bring a broader picture and all of that. But like I say, conversations must precede all of this.
No. In all this, because that's in all this, ego question, what role should private sector play in financing major regional infrastructure projects? And how
if you're going to get the private sector involved, the Southeast private sector is populated by people whose ego is, some people's ego is bigger than the national stadium. No, and the point I'm making is that go for the funding, get them involved, but without allowing them to take over public perception of the project. That's all. We need them. They should come together. And they've come together in the past on so many occasions. You should also ask yourself what was delivered in all that they are coming together in the past and why it wasn't delivered. That will enable us to advise ourselves on the way forward in this regard. Private sector, the Banya need to come, that's a problem. Meanwhile, you find somebody from you need results, not visibility. Visibility as okay, take Innocent for instance. Innocent Malonyo. Mano when the name were 2% of his value. Hana ga like this, just become okay, at least these are the things you begin to hold up for the young people to emulate. And there are too many. Yes, I've cited the example of Innocent. I will also cite the example of APs. Onwere APs and ima ikwu eziokwu asị na onwe onye na-aka ọnụ. Onwere APs advert you will not see onye ma ọsụ nwe airline beacon. Nwoke mala mma ọ mmadụ eji etu ọnụ obu nwere obi dị mkpa. Onye si na onye si na ọ karịrị APs nyapụta ka m hụ. If he pulls out, the aviation sector has collapsed in this country. So, see to onye afa no dimba. Mana segwe na dimba na no boko muaze. Aya baporia. Ejikwa mogo nke obona nyawa. There was a flight problem involving the MA. Onye aka akpọ na phone. How dare you? Onye ka that you call the head of the airline because there was a flight problem. Ona azakwa na agụ na ekwe. Onye mwanya gwe. The less visible he becomes, the better. And yet, we're two of him in the aviation sector. In this country, not talk of an Igbo, or else we stood. Nyapwenyela anyu. Oh, nyaga, asino na apota. Asi oh, onye line. Ko bosnya and the attendants are na zonya ya na advert. You see, and they saying this deliberately, provocatively. Makasi na nwanne ki ije tu ono na apota na ogbo fo ko boss. Ikwu ofu ya agbalo ya arụ. Reduce it to so but so ya apụta yichacha ezigbo akwa sị na nwanne na apụta. That's why I'm saying this. When onye man or say anwe play na ya gbapụrụ ya bikon.
Prof, well noted. Now, I will staying on this. Igbo entrepreneurs are obviously historically been at the forefront of commerce and industry. Yet, capital flight and limited access to credit hinders large-scale investment. KKG made this
capital flight from where?
Well,
from Southeast.
Yes.
Why should there not be? Where should there not be capital flight from Southeast? Get the quality of infrastructure not there. Yes. There's nothing surprising about that because Southeast like the controversy that Ruben said. Onye na-abịa kịta ịzụ ana na Southeast ka ihe oyi eji eme port anọrọ nso. Do you get market anọrọ nso? So what are you locating there for? Then most of the things you will need to do after you've made money, you can do them more readily outside the Southeast. The network, the technological facilitation, among other things. There's only one thing to do. What you don't have, which you need, find it, keep it where you need it. So we need more investments in those things that make people take their money out to solve problems.
Well, I think if, some of the things Anambra State Governor and the Enugu State Governor named now, I think, some of the things Anambra and the Enugu State Government name, I think probably would help to retain, especially the younger ones, within the program, because it was.
I agree completely. I agree with you in that regard. Yes, it will make the difference.
Okay, now, Prof, we'll be rounding up, but before I let you go, as the global economy is shifting towards digital innovation and knowledge-based industry. How can Igbo and Igbo position itself as a hub for tech-driven entrepreneurship?
Well, that is something that that's something that the commission can actually set the pace on, because a lot of state
Prof, we can't hear you. Maybe now on a call disrupting. Those of you joining us, please, if you don't mind, and if you have any question, please raise your digital hand. You will be called to ask him a question. Prof, are you back?
Yes, I'm back, but under pressure in some other circumstance.
Oh, okay. So we'll be rounding up quickly. Biko, before I take questions from the audience, let me ask this question. Imana, Asna, if we look at the Nigerian history, when you started talking, come to 2023, we saw how Igbo came together and supported P2B on the political scene. Now, in 2027, the landscape got different. Kedu ihe ọ dị ka nwere ike imenụ? Kedu kwanu ndị, kedu options ọ dị ka ndị Igbo politically a ga-enwe alliances come 2027? Quickly. Okay.
Igbo get interest other regions that will be serviced by an Igbo presidency, and then talk with them on those interests and reassure them that it will be delivered. Peter Nongwe, who is for now the most visible, must show greater capacity for consultation, must show greater capacity for team discussion and engagement. On what equators are ACB. For now, there's a suspicion of an isolationist approach in all their endeavors. That's a source of concern.
Okay. Hope, please unmute yourself and ask your question. We are rounding up quickly. Hope, unmute yourself and ask your question. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, Prof. I like what you're doing, and I'm very happy that you came to this program. My one question is, when you talked about the insecurity and the drones, that you went to a conference and you had to ask the question, I was thinking that you would have brought the Igbo governors to a round table for them to discuss with that company to see a lasting solution to the threats that these hostages are to lives in Igbo land. I went to Nigeria recently, but I couldn't go to my village because of them. My kids really, really wanted to see those rivers in my place, the fishes and all that. They couldn't because of the kidnapping. So I wanted to ask, did you bring the Igbo governors, the 5 states, together in a round table with that company so that they can show to them how to tackle the menace? Thank you
very much, Hope. Prof, that's a very interesting question. Prof, if you're there. I think something.
Hello?
Did you catch the question, Prof?
Yes, I got the question. Simple. Nke a wụrụ na mbụ eje na federal. Ụlọ eje to DSS. Maka ije anyị na ndị amị soja. Then nke ịbịa onwego ofu onye na ndị ọchịchị nọ na mgbada mana ha. And etu isi jụ the ajụjụ is whether I brought the governors to a round table. Simple question. Ijugo ezakwugo round table. That's it.
I think the connection is becoming. Prof, are you there?
And I'm not surprised at all. We know our environment in our country. So yes, it's a matter to be pursued in that regard. From experience, I've known how to avoid a lot of excitement when you see something that will work. Sometimes you meet others, wow, this no, boss. We should do something. We should go. That way. The way remains undefined. The action to be taken remains undefined. But Agunyeni,
Prof, asị m na di ewu na-ekwuba okwu ọ daa na we should do something. Man, ọ gị nwa mee something ka a na-ekwukwa ife.
Precisely. And so, but once you see it in group, this chat, no, we ought to now this only they will assume they've actually taken action. That's why I'm pained by the verbosity of WhatsApp activism. On your baggy the bachana was but this very important question she has asked is one that, yes, the answer is yes, it's a matter I'm taking up. But it's also something that has to be explained to this one person I'm talking with has to get a full picture. When he gets that full picture, he'll be in a position to call the next or say, I'm okay. And they're quite the way forward. Because look at the figures, very affordable. What is $30 million? And they'll be around for 3 months to make sure people take over the technical, what do you call it now, control room. And then they will go.
Prof, thank you very much. So in rounding up here, because nonye jụọ ajụjụ dịka o si wee jụ n'ọkpọ ome anata ịma nọ na diaspora. So na anyị jụọ ajụjụ ga-emetụfa, given the significant Igbo diaspora presence and their financial remittances, how do we leverage these resources for long-term economic development rather than all these short-term consumption, onye loan in a village, onye nata ụkpọlụ ndị mopo mmadụ 20 ana-akpaghalị ana-ekponi dust. So how do we as ndị Igbo, ọ bụrụ na Nigeria actually leverage the diaspora remittances, how do we leverage on that? That will be my final question to you. And if you may use your answer as well to be your final remark to us, it will be appreciated, Prof. Thank you very much.
Okay, the answer is simple. Rather than looking for how what to do with diaspora remittances, the people making remittances in any contiguous area should define what they want to do with it. Let's suppose enwele 30 people from Njikoka who are thinking of remittances for development, not just remittances so let us talk to ourselves. In fact, that's where the WhatsApp platform becomes valuable. Diaspora, people or wherever. No one something I enjoy. That's where goal-directed public project remittances, not just volume of remittances coming in through the space, but going to individuals. And again, work with a strong implementation committee. Somebody also. The emphasis for me is begin to do something wherever you are. You don't know those it will impact. You don't know where they will be in the next 20 years. The salvation may lie with them and not with you that did us more than in Amaroda to change their lives. Those will be my final thoughts in that regard.
Thank you very much, Prof. It has been a pleasure having you here. That's Professor Okey Ikechukwu, MNI, a distinguished philosopher, public communications professional, and executive director of Development Specs Academy, Abuja. Prof.
Okay, thank you very much.
On this note, thank you very much and good night. On this note, we'll round up and we'll say thank you once more for joining us on this series, the State of the Igbo Nation series, here created by Njinji Media TV to constantly keep having these conversation, regarding an Igbo and how we can make it better. I am still your host, Mazi Ikechukwu Ezoke. Please, if you haven't subscribed to our platforms, I plead with you, just do us one thing. This was also live streamed on Njinji Media TV. Please go there. If you can see them on your WhatsApp group, share, like, and Support us if you can. We appreciate you, and thank you very much. On this note, from my side, I say good night. May God bless us all.